Hello everyone, so today we're ranking every single manga I read in 2021. So I went into Tier Maker and I made my first tier list. I've never done this before. And I came up with these categories that are specifically designed to suit my needs. So up top here I have reread. So these are manga I reread this year. If I reread a manga, then chances are that it's one of my favorite series. So obviously it goes up top. Next is a new favorite, so these are new things I read in 2021 that I would now consider one of my all-time favorite manga, so then it goes there. Pretty solid, as it sounds, it's pretty solid. Next is mixed feelings, so I have mixed feelings about a series for one reason or another, and we'll get to that later. Next is need to read more, so chances are I read one volume of the series, and I feel like I need to read more of it to properly form an opinion. Next is a little forgettable. So things can be forgettable for several different reasons. We'll get to that later. This is probably the most complicated category. So we have what? So chances are for here, either one, I really didn't understand what was going on in the manga, or two, the tone kind of shifted and I don't know why the author decided to make those decisions. So I kind of go, what? So yeah, there will be many different series that go in here. And then lastly is waste of time. Specifically, this means it was a waste of my time, not necessarily that it would be a waste of everyone's time. Just I felt like I was wasting my time when reading this series. So those are my categories, and here are all the manga I read this year that we'll be talking about in this video. So let's just start with Requiem of the Rose King. So immediately, I think this one I'd put in pretty solid. I do have some kind of mixed feelings about it, but for the most part, it was pretty solid. When the final volume comes out, I believe, in 2022, then I'll reread what I read of it previously, and then I'll re-rank it. Maybe if I make this video again next year, I'll rank it again and see where it goes. Next is Eyeshield 21. This one, I'm going to put in mixed feelings, because I have some pretty strong mixed feelings about this series. I really liked some aspects of it, and then some aspects I really disliked. So literally the definition of mixed feelings about this. I like the characters, some of them. I dislike some of the other characters. Just very strong mixed feelings about the series. So that's where it's going to go. Next is To Your Eternity. So this manga is literally why I created the what category, because what the heck happened to this series? So I've read To Your Eternity a couple years ago, and I was really enjoying it. But then this year, I caught up with the releases again on the Crunchyroll app, and I hate what's happening right now. I really, really hate it. I do feel like this manga kind of struggled towards the end of the first arc, and now, during this arc, I don't understand what's happening. I really, really hate it. I just hate the direction that it's going, and so this is going in the what category, because really, what the heck happens? What is the author doing? I don't understand. So that's why that's going there. All right, next is The Girl from the Other Side. So this one, I think I have to put in mixed feelings, because I still don't know what to think of the ending. I didn't dislike the ending, but I don't know what to think. So we're going to leave it there. I do like the series for the most part, but I just have some pretty mixed feelings about the ending. I don't hate it. I don't like it, really. So, yeah, I'm going to put that there. All right, next, I'm actually going to do these three together. I don't know why I put these as three separate things, but, So I have I Hear the Sunspot. So technically, this one was a reread, and this one was a reread. And then I reread the first two volumes of Limit, and then I read the final volume this year, or 2021. So I have some pretty strong mixed feelings about the series, but also I think it is my favorite BL manga. So I think I'm going to put it there. I know there's lots of melodrama going on in the series. There's lots of miscommunication, and normally I don't like that, but I do kind of like it in this series. It keeps me interested. So I think this is my favorite BL, so I'm going to keep it there, even though I do have some mixed feelings about it. All right, next we have Happiness. So this is going to go in pretty solid. So I'm really glad I went back and reread this, or reread the first part of this year and then finished the series this year, because I had originally dropped it. But because I was getting back into Shuzo Oshimi's works, I decided to start this over and complete it, and I'm really glad I did. I do have some pretty big issues with it, so that's why it's not going in a new favorite. But I do think it was pretty solid, so that's why I put it there. All right, next is Hell's Paradise. So if you asked me this question while I was reading it, I would have put it in mixed feelings. But in hindsight, I think it was pretty solid. Not a new favorite, but it was pretty good. I liked the main character and his kind of goals that he's trying to accomplish. And then I like a lot of the side characters are really wacky and weird. And I really love the kind of body horror art that's happening here. And the fact that it takes place on an island and we're trying to kind of find some treasure, kind of. I like that about it. So, pretty solid series. All right, next, I don't know why some of these images look glitchy. Every single time I refresh the page, different ones look glitchy. I don't know what's going on. But next is Slam Dunk. This was a reread. I always want to be rereading Slam Dunk. I love Slam Dunk a lot. I'm always thinking about Slam Dunk. I'm always wishing I was reading Slam Dunk. So I reread it in 2021, and I wish I was rereading it right now. I love Slam Dunk to death. So that's where that's going. Next is Blue Flag. This is another reread, and again, I don't know why the image is so glitchy. So I originally read this as the chapters were coming out monthly or every 6 weeks on the Manga Plus app, and I really loved it, and I gave it a 10 out of 10 when I finished it, and then this year in 2021, when the final volume was released, I read it all, and again, I reread it, and I loved it just as much, so it was a reread, and it's one of my favorite series. So next is Bloom Into You. This one is complicated because I think I started reading this in 2018, but I never finished it until 2021, and I've reread the first 3 or 5 volumes several times. So I could put it in reread, but because I finished it this year, I'm going to put it in a new favorite, even though it's not really new to me at all. But the last 3 volumes of this series were amazing. I loved them. And the first 3 volumes are pretty good too. The middle volumes kind of get a little murky. But for the most part, I really enjoy this series, and I really like the representation that happens in here. All right, next is Uzumaki. If this was any other Junji Ito manga, it would go in, down here somewhere. But Uzumaki, I think, was pretty good. And in fact, I think it's my favorite Junji Ito manga besides Junji Ito's Cat Diary. So I think I'm going to put it in a new favorite. I really like the art. Obviously, I always like Junji Ito's art. But I enjoy the story and the short stories and how they were all connected, just based around a theme. So I think this is a new favorite, I believe. Next is Orient. So even though this volume was really bad, I don't think it was a complete waste of time. I do think it deserves to go in the what category, though, because really, what was this first volume? Why are there, diamond motorcycles in this fantasy series? Why? Why does it feel like there are 2 arcs happening in the first volume? Why? I don't understand. What is happening here? What is the author doing? I don't get it. So that's why it's going in this category. Again, I don't think it was a complete waste of time, but really, I did not like this volume, and I didn't get it. All right, next is Sneeze by Naoki Urasawa. So this is a short story collection. I did not like this at all, but I don't think it was a complete waste of time because I'm glad I read Naoki Urasawa's short story collection, but I think it's a little forgettable because do I remember any of the short stories in this collection? No. I remember there was some recurring ones focused around music, but I don't remember anything that actually happened in those short stories. So I think I'm putting that in a little forgettable because it was. All right, next, this opinion is happening. So I did not start Jujutsu Kaisen in 2021. I actually started it in 2020. But I did read Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which is why I chose this image. But I wanted to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole because 2021 is when I decided to drop Jujutsu Kaisen. And that is because I was trying to read it weekly, and I could not follow it to save my life. Every single time I would open the app to read the new chapter, I realized I didn't know what was happening. I'd have to go back and reread the previous chapters. And I'm going to put that in a little forgettable. I could put it in what, because literally every time I opened a chapter, I went, what? Because I couldn't remember. But I literally can't remember many important things about this series. The whole first arc, I don't remember any of it, I don't think. I remember the Shibuya arc more, but, the beginning parts, I don't remember any of it. And then when I was reading these chapters weekly, suddenly they would reintroduce characters that are oh my god, you're supposed to remember who this character is. They're really important. And I literally couldn't remember who this character was. I had to, look it up in discussion boards on who the character was. So that's not good. So I'm going to put it in a little forgettable. And I dropped Jujutsu Kaisen because I was really sick of trying to remember what was happening when I was reading it weekly. And I wasn't attached to any of the characters or anything. So that's where that's going. All right, next is Muji Rushi. So this is another Naoki Urasawa work I read this year. This one is a one-shot. I'm going to put that in what? Because I feel like I was missing some kind of references when I was reading the series. Like, there were things that were happening that I didn't understand because I didn't have the proper context. And also, there were just strange things that happened in the series, or this one shot, I suppose. And, yeah, so that's where it's going. I didn't hate it. In fact, I kind of liked it, but I just felt like I was missing stuff. So that's where that's going. Next is Black Torch. Black Torch was a waste of time. I didn't actually hate it, but it felt incomplete. And it felt like it was canceled, and I knew it was canceled when I went into it, and it felt like it was canceled when I was reading it. It just kind of goes nowhere, it builds up, and doesn't go anywhere. I can't really remember anything that happens in it. I remember that the art was good, and there's a cat, and that's pretty much it. So, it was kind of a waste of time. I immediately sold my volumes after I finished it. So, alright, next is The Golden Sheep. So, this one I'm going to put in... I definitely have some mixed feelings about it, but I think I'm going to put it in a little forgettable because this is one of those, like, 3-volume series I buy because it's only 3 volumes, and I think it'll be good. And usually it's all right, and then I just immediately get rid of it because it's not memorable enough for me to keep it. I do remember more things in this than some of these other ones in this category, but I think it is just a little bit forgettable, so I'm going to leave it there. All right, next is Remina. So this is immediately going in what? Because what the heck is happening in Remina? There's some weird aliens and then cults and then like crucifixions. What is happening in this series? But this isn't really a negative. What? This is kind of a positive because I did actually like Remina. I just don't know what's happening, but I didn't hate it. So we're going to put that there. All right, next is Real Account. So I'm putting Real Account in what too, because it started out good, like, even though it was really very heavy-handed with the whole social media is bad thing, it was okay, but then it takes a weird turn that I don't understand, so we're just gonna put it there. I dropped the series. I didn't hate it, but I had read enough, and it takes a weird turn that, you know, it happens, so yeah. Alright, so next is Attack on Titan. So I didn't start Attack on Titan this year. I've read Attack on Titan for years, and I have dropped Attack on Titan previously. But because everyone was talking about the ending of the manga, I wanted to see what happened, and I didn't want to wait a year for the anime to finish. So I read the ending. And honestly, if we're just talking about the ending, I wanted to put it in pretty solid, because I thought the ending was alright. I know everyone really hates the ending, but I thought it was okay. It wasn't that bad, not compared to the rest of the series. But if we're talking about the series as a whole, like I've done with these other ones, it definitely has to go in mixed feelings, because I have the strongest mixed feelings about Attack on Titan. You know, I was trying to read it monthly, and I couldn't follow it, so I dropped it. And then there are some parts, like I really like the anime, but we're not talking about anime here, we're talking about manga. So, yeah, if we're talking about just the ending, it'd go in pretty solid, but because we're talking about the entire series, we're going to put it in mixed feelings, because I have very strong mixed feelings. Next, we're finally going to put a manga in the need to read more category. This is Blue Period. I've read a couple volumes of it, and I really like it, but I do think I need to read more before I properly form an opinion about the series as a whole, and can categorize it in one of these other ones. Next is Zom 100. Everyone knows where I'm putting this, I think. It's going in a waste of time. So I knew as soon as I read the first volume that I was not going to like it. And then I kept reading it for some reason, even though I did not like it. So that's literally a waste of time. So that's why it's going in this category. I know some people really like the series. I just didn't. And then I kept reading it and I still didn't like it. So I don't know. It was a waste of time. All right. Next is Blood on the Tracks. That is going in pretty solid. I don't think it's quite a new favorite yet because it's not complete and I could see it going really badly, but for now it's pretty solid. I like how dark it is. I really like that Shuzo Oshimi is able to make you feel what the characters are feeling just through his art. I've said that before, and I'll say it again because I really enjoy it. But for now, it's pretty solid. It could take a turn that I don't like. I could definitely see this going in a way I don't like. But for now, it's going right there. All right, next, this is another very controversial opinion. Especially recently, I've seen lots of people pick this manga up. But I think Noragami is a little forgettable because when I wasn't reading Noragami, I was never thinking about Noragami. I never wanted to be back reading Noragami. When I was reading it, it was pretty good. I was liking it. But once I caught up with the releases, I never went, oh, I can't wait for the next volume to come out. So I think that's a little forgettable. And I do think some of the characters are a little forgettable. I like some of them, but mostly the side characters. The main characters, I could do without. So I think it's a little forgettable. Yeah, that's where that's going. All right, next we have Mermaid Saga. If Mermaid Saga had an actual ending, it would be a new favorite because I really enjoyed it for the most part. But there is no ending to this manga. It just ends. And it's just kind of a short story collection with a thread of plot going through the whole thing. And that plot does not end. Just the story is like, hey, we're done. And there's no ending at all. But I did really enjoy the mermaid aspects here and the kind of horror aspects of this manga. So it was pretty solid. And if it had an ending, it'd be a new favorite. But it doesn't. So it only goes and it's pretty solid. Speaking of mermaids, Mermaid in My Tub was a complete waste of time. And I knew it was going to be a waste of time when I read it. But I still read it just to read some mermaid manga. So this is exactly as it sounds. It's about this merman who lives in this guy's bathtub and he has friends, and it's a comedy slice of life manga. It's not very good, and I knew it was going to be a waste of time, but I read it kind of for the meme. But, you know. Next we have My Alcoholic Escape from Reality. So this I'm putting in pretty solid. It was pretty solid. I don't think it was a new favorite, but I did really enjoy seeing the author's sense of humor in this installment. I don't remember seeing that as much in the other stories by her. Well, they're not stories. In the other autobiographical manga by her. I feel like the comedy in this manga really shined. But it wasn't a new favorite, I don't think. It is my favorite of the series, I believe. But it's not a favorite of mine. So it's going there. Next is Spy Family. That's also going in pretty solid with the potential to move up very quickly. I really enjoy Spy Family. I read it as the chapters come out on the Shonen Jump app. But I don't think it's a favorite yet. It'll have to, I don't know. It'll have to do some other things to make it a favorite. But I do really like it. All right, next is Vagabond. That is a favorite. That's a new favorite. I had not read any Vagabond before this year. And I read the whole series this year. And I really, really enjoyed it. I know some people are hesitant to read this because it's going to be on hiatus for the rest of our lives, probably. It's probably never going to be finished. But I do think the ending, quote unquote, was satisfying. I don't think it needs to be completed. Like, obviously, there are some loose plot points, but I think the arc it ends on and the way it ends, quote unquote, again, is pretty satisfying. So I do think it's worth the read, and it is a new favorite. I would definitely reread this in the future. I really enjoyed it. Takehiko, in a way, can do no wrong in my eyes. So, yeah. Next is Goodbye, My Rose Garden. So this is a Yuri manga I read this year. It's 3 volumes completed. That one was pretty solid. I think it could move up if I reread it. It's one of the better Yuri manga I've read, but for now, it's just going to be in pretty solid. Next is Inside Mari. That's going up here. Inside Mari was definitely a new favorite. I like Inside Mari so much that I talked about it on other people's YouTube channels, so if you want to check that out. After I finished Inside Mari, I was just thinking about it a lot, and I still think about it, so that's what, for me, puts it into a new favorite list, is if I'm thinking about it months after I finish reading it, then I probably really enjoyed it. So that's where that's going. Next is Boys Run the Riot. So I really enjoyed this first volume, but I definitely need to read more from the series before I form my opinion. I'm sure eventually it'll move up, but I've only read 1 of the 4 volumes, so I need to finish the series. Next is Days of Love at Seagull Villa. This is another 3-volume long Yuri manga, and this one I'm putting in what because this manga just tries to do way too much in 3 volumes. And the secondary plot line is bad. It's really bad. I don't like it. And I just feel like too many things tried to happen in the series and it wasn't good. Next is another Yuri manga. So I'm putting A Tropical Fish Yearns for Snow into Need to Read More because I've only read 1 volume from that series. I did really enjoy the first volume, but I haven't read enough to put it up here yet. This is Sayonara Football. I think I'm putting that in pretty solid because I do think it could move up to a new favorite if I reread it, but for now, it's just pretty solid. It was one of the better sports manga I've read. I did really like it. I liked being able to read a sports manga focused on a girls' team instead of a boys' team all the time. And I did think it was very funny and very good, but not quite a favorite yet, I wouldn't say. I don't think it's on par with all these other ones yet, but I did really enjoy it. All right, next is Descending Stories. I have mixed feelings about this, but I think I'm going to put it in pretty solid because for the most part, it was pretty solid. I do think it kind of drags a little bit. It's got, if there was a category between pretty solid and mixed feelings, that's probably where I'd put this. But for now, it's pretty solid. So that's where I'm going to put that one. Donuts Under a Crescent Moon is another Yuri manga that I need to read more of because I only read one volume. I liked it, but I need to read more. Conditions of Paradise is a waste of time. So this is like a short story Yuri collection. It's bad. I did not like this at all. I didn't like a single one of the short stories. So yeah. Next is A White Rose in Bloom, which is another one I need to read more of, even though I don't think the second volume is out yet. But it was weird. Like, it was all right, but also there was some weird stuff going on in here. But I'm not opposed to it, so I need to read more of that. Next is Wolf. So this one I'm putting in mixed feelings because the story, as cliche as it was not bad. I kind of liked it, but the art and the actual, like, physical presentation of the book is not good. So, you know, I think I have pretty strong mixed feelings about it, so I'm going to put it there. Next is, I can't remember the name of this series. Is it When Your Bones Rot? This was a waste of time. So, When Your Bones Rot is like a teen thriller kind of thing, except I hated all the decisions that were being made by the characters and by the author. I hate the direction it went. I hated a lot of things that happened in the series, and it felt like a waste of time. I only read it because I had the digital volumes in like a Humble Bundle I bought probably like 2 years ago, and I felt like reading it in October, and it was bad. So that's where that's going. Next is Astro Lost in Space, which is going in a new favorite. The only thing I would like to change about the series is that it would be longer. Not because I feel like it needs to be longer, but just because I want it to be longer so I could stay with these characters for a longer amount of time. But as it is, it's great. I really love the characters. I really love the plot. And I think it is a new favorite of mine. I could definitely reread it in the future. All right, next is Censor by Junji Ito. I'm putting that in what, just like Remina. But this one is not like positive like Remina was. This is just negative. Why is there floating golden hair that controls people? What's going on? I don't understand. And it's not like fun weird like Remina is. It's just weird. So that's where that one's going. And then Smash by Junji Ito. This is a short story collection. I think all of Junji Ito's short story collections are a little forgettable because do I ever remember a specific short story in these collections? I don't think so. Just by definition, I can't remember any of the short stories that even happen in this book, so that's where I'm going to put it. Next is Ikigami. That's going in mixed feelings because some parts of this series I really like, and then some parts I have some pretty big issues with. So I'm putting that in mixed feelings. I do like it for the most part, but I got rid of my volumes after I finished reading it. I don't think it's a favorite, but, you know, it's all right. All right, next, this is going to feel like blasphemy to some people, I think. Summon of the Gods by Giratanaguchi was a complete waste of my time. So, you know, literally as I was reading it, I felt my time being wasted because it took so long to read each volume that I could have been reading something else. But, you know, instead I was reading this narrative. I felt like I was reading a regular novel instead of a manga, except it was more boring than all the novels I've read. I like the ending, but that's about it. It felt like it was wasting my time as I was reading it. So, yeah. The art is nice, but the rest of it, not great. Okay, next we have The Flowers of Evil. So, this one I'm putting in pretty solid. I don't think it's quite a favorite. It's not up here with Inside Mari, but it was pretty good. I really liked the kind of time skip element that happened in here. So that's where I'm putting that one. Next is Drifting Classroom. That's going in what because I am very concerned about how this series goes. Why are there so many different ways that these children die? Like, what is Kazu Umez doing? Also, there were many different strange things that happened in the series that don't make sense. I did like seeing how this manga has influenced other manga, other horror manga, but the actual story, what is happening? I don't know. But, you know, it wasn't bad. I just don't get it. Next is Little Leo. This one is going in mixed feelings because why are all these children bullying this little cat? I don't get it. So it was all right, but I have mixed feelings about it, so it's going there. Next is The Walking Cat. This one was a pretty solid series. This is a zombie apocalypse series. Pretty solid where that goes. And then it focuses on a cat, so it's better. So it's pretty solid. Next is 20th Century Boys. I didn't do a December wrap-up video where I would have talked about these series down here. But I read 20th Century Boys over like a month period, and I really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to put that in a new favorite. I believe I like it more than Monster. I'm not sure if I like it more than Pluto. I'd have to reread Pluto, but I did really enjoy 20th Century Boys. Next is A Man and His Cat. That's also going in pretty solid because it's cute. It's adorable. It reminds me of my cats. And yeah, pretty solid. Cats at the Louvre is going in because I did enjoy parts of it. Even the weird like anthropomorphic animals. I kind of like that. Taiyo Matsumoto's art is always interesting to look at. But the actual story, it was alright. And I think I understand where he was going. But while I was reading it, I was like, what? So that's where that's going. Next is Arakawa Under the Bridge. So I'm going to put that in need to read more. Even though I don't think I'm going to be reading any more of Arakawa Under the Bridge. I read the first 2 omnibus volumes, which is like 4 volumes. And I liked it. Kind of, but then I didn't like it. It's complicated. I felt like I had read enough, but I don't think I've read enough to actually form a strong opinion about it. So I'm going to put it in need to read more because I don't think I've read enough, but also I don't think I'm actually going to read it anymore because I'm not interested. So that's where that's going. All right, we're almost done here. Next is Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. That one I'm putting in pretty solid with the potential to move up to a favorite. I feel weird putting non-completed manga in my favorites list. As you can see, these are all completed manga. Well, this one's kind of completed. These are all completed manga. So this one is not completed, so I don't want to move it up to a new favorite. But I did really, really enjoy it. It has some of my favorite characters I read from this year. And yeah, I really enjoy it for the most part. So that's where it's going for now. And then lastly, we have Junji Ito's Cat Diary, which is the easiest one to categorize because it was a reread. I reread the new collector's edition. And I loved it. So yeah, this is my completed tier list for 2021. Let me know what you thought of this video. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me on where I categorize these manga, that's great. Also, I'd be interested to see what categories you would put in your tier list if you made one of these. I did not make this tier list to be like a general thing that everyone can use. These categories are definitely specific for me. That's why there are so many like specific things down here that normally people wouldn't think about that I think about. But that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.